When estimating electrical work, it's useful to have some rules of thumb to guide the process. Firstly, consider materials. Estimate material costs based on 1.5 to 2 times the retail price. Secondly, for labor, estimate labor costs based on $60 to $80 per hour, depending on the location and the electrician's experience. Thirdly, add a typical markup of 20 to 30% to cover overhead and profit. For additional switches or receptacles, a reasonable estimate is $75 to $150 per device, including labor and materials. To replace receptacles, budget $20 to $40 per receptacle, including labor. Replacing breakers typically costs $50 to $100 per breaker, including labor. For specific items like jacuzzis, installation costs can vary widely depending on size, complexity, and location, but a reasonable estimate is $1,000 to $3,000. Romex wiring can be estimated at $0.50 to $1.0 per linear foot, including materials and labor. Underground work to a shed can be estimated at $5 to $10 per linear foot of trenching, plus the cost of materials like conduit and wire. Keep in mind other considerations such as the size of the project, where smaller projects typically have higher unit costs due to mobilization and setup time. Unusual or complex installations will require more labor and specialized materials, increasing costs. Also be aware that costs can vary significantly depending on geographic region, availability of materials, and labor rates. The cost of permits and inspections should be included in the estimate. Consider offering a warranty for your work, which can affect pricing. Here are some helpful tips. 1. Get detailed measurements and specifications from the client before estimating. 2. Break down the project into smaller tasks and estimate each one separately. 3. Allow for contingencies to cover unforeseen expenses. And 4. Provide the client with a clear and detailed estimate outlining all costs and assumptions. It is very important to remember that these are just rules of thumb and actual costs may vary. Always get an accurate understanding of all the work involved prior to submitting a bid. Consider the following when creating an estimate. Firstly, overhead. This includes expenses such as office space, insurance, vehicle maintenance, and administrative costs. Secondly, profit margin. This is the percentage of revenue that remains after all expenses are paid. Thirdly, labor costs. Labor costs include wages, benefits, and payroll taxes. Fourthly, material costs. These are the expenses for all materials needed for the project, including wiring, conduit, boxes, devices, and fixtures. Fifthly, permit fees. These are the fees required by local governments for permits and inspections. Sixthly, subcontractor costs. These are the expenses for any work that is subcontracted out to other trades, such as plumbing or HVAC. Seventhly, contingency. This is an amount added to the estimate to cover unexpected expenses or changes in scope. To determine the appropriate labor rate, consider the prevailing wage rates in your area, the experience and skill level of your electricians, and the complexity of the project. To calculate overhead costs, track all indirect expenses and allocate them to each project based on a percentage of labor or revenue. To determine the appropriate profit margin, consider the level of risk involved in the project, the competition in your area, and your desired return on investment. To estimate material costs, obtain quotes from multiple suppliers and factor in any waste or spoilage. To determine permit fees, contact the local building department or permit office. To estimate subcontractor costs, obtain bids from multiple subcontractors and carefully review their scope of work. To determine the appropriate contingency, consider the complexity of the project, the potential for unforeseen problems, and your risk tolerance. Regularly review and update your estimating methods to ensure accuracy and profitability. Use estimating software or spreadsheets to streamline the process and improve accuracy. Track actual costs against estimated costs to identify areas where you can improve your estimating methods. Seek feedback from clients and subcontractors to improve your understanding of project requirements and potential challenges. Stay up to date on industry trends and best practices to ensure that your estimating methods are current and competitive. Consider using a cost database to benchmark your estimates against industry averages. Factor in the cost of tools and equipment when estimating labor costs. Consider the impact of inflation on material costs and adjust your estimates accordingly. Obtain detailed specifications and drawings from the client before preparing an estimate. Visit the project site to assess the scope of work and identify any potential challenges. Clearly communicate your assumptions and exclusions in the estimate. Provide a detailed breakdown of costs to help the client understand the value of your services. Be prepared to negotiate with the client to reach a mutually agreeable price. Follow up with the client after submitting the estimate to answer any questions and address any concerns. Keep accurate records of all estimates and project costs for future reference. Use historical data to improve the accuracy of your future estimates. Invest in training and development to improve your estimating skills. Network with other contractors and industry professionals to share best practices and learn from their experiences. Develop a reputation for providing accurate and reliable estimates. Be responsive to client inquiries and concerns. Provide excellent customer service to build trust and rapport. Be willing to go the extra mile to meet the client's needs. Focus on building long-term relationships with clients. Seek out opportunities to expand your knowledge and expertise. Continuously improve your processes and procedures. Be a leader in your industry. Strive for excellence in all that you do.